Welcome to the Two Posh Podcast.
I am Gabrielle. I'm a former New York Mafia princess, originally from Austria. I am the mother of 3 and the owner of Two Posh Boutique, and here with my beautiful co-host Marcella, my daughter.
Hello, I'm Marcella. I'm a dancer, choreographer, model, and designer for Two Posh, and I say whatever the I want.
Hi, my name is Cruz. I am a stylist. I also own the Society Salon in the Design District, and I am a short little Mexican with a big personality.
What will they say next? Welcome to the Two Posh Podcast.
Well, today we're thrilled to be joined by Mark Beardon,
Hi guys, how you doing?
Chris Beardon,
Hello.
and Phil Schanbaum. Did I say that right?
You did.
Oh my God. The founders of, are you all the SBBC Hospitality Group?
No.
These two.
Okay, Mark and Chris are.
Uh-huh.
And we will be diving into the journey as entrepreneurs and discussing the challenges and successes of building and growing a hospitality business and getting your insights into the future of the industry. Mark, Chris, and Phil, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
I am so excited to
Me
have you guys
too.
here. It's been a minute.
Oh, it's great.
I've known these guys forever. I feel like we kind of grew up in the industry together, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's been, I don't know
Like
how much,
our
over a
evolution
decade
you've
at
seen.
least.
Yeah.
I
At
mean,
least over a decade.
I would
Back
say-
to Style Lab on Greenville.
Yes.
actually.
Dang, that's almost 2 decades
That was
probably.
no, it was 2004.
Yeah, your hair. You had a lot more
2005.
hairspray in your hair back
Yeah.
Yeah,
Little
We
bit more
did a
color.
show on Style Lab.
Wow.
yeah. That's why I got
Almost
my.
2
That's why I got that
decades.
gel
Yeah.
in my hair.
I feel like everybody had a very cool hairstyle, and if it was colored or anything, it came from Cruz
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
that time.
and the crew.
I feel like the faux hawk was invented by
Yeah,
Style
me
Yeah.
too.
Lab. I think like every
Purple,
like
red, or
Dion
Every
invented
club-
the faux hawk.
yeah, Dion
Yeah. It was,
and Chris.
It was Crispy
Chris.
Bermudez used to do
Yeah.
my hair.
That's true.
Yeah.
Chris
Shout out to
Bermudez.
Chris. Yeah.
Little Chris.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to be so great. I mean, I have so many questions for you guys, but first I also need to welcome Gino, our
Gino's
co-host.
back.
I'm back. Can't keep me away.
No. And everybody, we get lots of comments that everybody likes Gino on the show.
Yep.
So Gino's got to keep coming back.
It's a mystery. Love the dynamic.
So how, I hear an accent, so tell us where you're from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris and I were originally born in Manchester, England, and but grew up in the west of outside West London. And as a family, we moved over in the late '90s with and it was Dr. Pepper of all things that brought us out here.
Like how?
Yeah. So my father used to work for Dr. Pepper, and so we moved out to Dallas for that, and then went to high school here. That's where we met Phil. So we've been best
Yeah.
friends since we were
Wow.
kids.
See, I saw
Wow.
them touring around the school. They
You-
were showing
Phil-
them around, and
Yeah.
all the
Phil
girls
embraced us.
Well, all the girls were screaming about 2 little twin boys from England running
Phil has to
around. I'm
jump
like,
in the
I got to
mix.
take these guys under our wing. quick.
Oh my
they
gosh.
gotta be on our team.
Yeah,
Wow.
so Phil showed us the
So you're
ropes.
twins.
Chris and I are twins.
Oh my gosh, I didn't put that together.
What?
Yeah.
They look exactly alike.
Well, brothers.
He's got the long hair.
Yeah. 7 minutes apart. So
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they will never not tell you that they're 7 minutes apart.
Well, no, that's not
Who's
true. That's not
older?
Older
true.
beard.
Mark will tell everyone that he's 7 years older. So he's
I was going to say, who's older?
7 minutes older, 7 inches longer.
Oh my God.
7 minutes wiser.
Yeah. Oh yeah, okay. We can go that dark road as long as we want. But yeah, so that's our story. We came over from the UK, and
And this was high school?
yeah,
just
yeah,
before.
just before,
Junior high,
just
yeah.
before
Yeah.
high school.
Junior
Yeah.
high.
What
Okay.
high school?
We went to a private school in Addison called Green Hill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gino, you teach there.
I
No?
have a lot of clients from Green Hill.
Oh,
my
great.
God.
Very cool. So we went to Green Hill, and Phil was one of our first friends there, and he's been like a brother to us all through high school, and then college, and
The unofficial triplet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
both of our parents on both sides call us the 3 brothers and stuff, and
How cool.
and then
Yeah, it's funny because we're all doing the same thing, and then I ended up going off to college in Arizona. They went to SMU. Both went on to do different things, but then we all came back to Dallas and get into the hospitality industry. So It was just
Yeah.
kind of fun how
It's just coincidence that we merged into the same business, and then in Dallas, out of all places, and now we've got bars and restaurants and nightclubs and stuff. But we're not partners in them, but we're doing the same thing.
So at that
Yeah.
time when y'all split to college, were y'all still like super tight?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And y'all
sure.
just
Yeah,
went to different
Yeah.
schools, and then
For sure.
y'all came back, or y'all never left, but then Phil came
Came
back,
back.
That's right.
and then
And then that was sort of, yeah. I mean, Chris and I had started in the industry 2000, like freshman year of college, 2004.
Well, hold on.
2005.
I have to pause all of this and tell you like the initial background story to how this all began.
That's what
Yes.
I want to know.
Yes.
I have
So
to know.
Yes.
not many people know this in the industry,
oh,
but these
Juice.
two went to bartending school together when they were
Oh,
17
God.
years old, and that's how they got their first jobs. And I never went to bartending school, and they just assumed that
Shut
I knew
up.
what they were doing,
Well,
so
it's 'cause
they hired me.
We got you
No
the job
way.
though.
Oh yeah, we
you
did
the
talk
job.
about that. Yeah.
We got you
They got the job, and they just hired me because they thought, well, this guy must know what he's doing.
So yeah, our service industry start. We did go to ABC bartending. Very embarrassing. But
and for
No,
those
it's
of
not.
y'all
No,
that
it's
don't
not.
know,
No, it's not.
Why is it embarrassing?
It's
bartending
not.
school is something that's like not really looked.
Well, no, here's the thing,
it's
right?
goofy as
You know,
hell.
like we just finished high school and we didn't know no idea what the hell we were doing. So it was like a summer project for Phil and I.
Yeah.
Let's just look. Well, we've been throwing house parties in high school since we were like 15.
That's how it started.
That's where
Yeah,
it really
that has
started.
to be. That's
Probably
like
right.
the number one.
Phil was like, he'd go buy like a case of beer and like, make sure that.
Well, he would put a happy face or a sad face if people could take out of the keg.
Okay. Don't mind. we would pay the door guy, or the guy who had the gate at the front of their
Yeah.
at Stonebriar.
Yeah.
And we'd slip him a case of beer and
to make sure like none
we'd
of
have a
like,
little
the Holland
guest list,
Park
throw a
kids
little
would come.
party. Yeah, I mean it was kind of
Yeah.
it was
My
like our own little
my
bar
parents,
club.
God bless them, they had a lot of patience with us.
Yeah.
Are your parents are you the only siblings? There are
No, we have
more?
a sister.
We have an older
Yeah.
Back-
sister as
back
well.
in England. Yeah.
An older sister?
Yeah. So I guess my parents, they coming from the UK, they sort of felt like
It was a slight culture difference. Like
yeah.
in England, you can, you're raised with alcohol, and it's more of a social thing. And,
Same in
and yeah,
Australia too.
you guys know.
Mhm.
So in England, when you're 14, 15, you're going to the pub and doing whatever. Somewhat of a cultural difference in here. Obviously, in the US, it's 21, so it's like
Right.
no drinking till you're 21. But
We talk about that
Yeah.
all the time.
talk
So y'all had the
Actually,
cool parents.
we did.
Y'all had the cool
Yeah.
But it was like
they didn't know they didn't know they were trying to be cool. They just
Yeah.
that's just like the
but it was
culture.
like
Yeah.
if we have a small gathering of friends, like all the keys were collected.
They are
like,
lying.
all
We
the
had like
parents-
250
it was-
person
yeah, it was-
ragers. It was not that
There was
quiet.
10 of them,
They-
guys.
I'm not saying they condoned it all. They
No,
they
they did not.
they're like, what
It
the
was-
hell's going on?
Yeah.
It made more sense when they went out of town. But long story short, hospitality began back then.
Y'all are 14.
Yeah,
No.
16 probably. But yeah, and then obviously we separated during our college years, and then we really found that hospitality was something that we loved, and we met a lot of cool people. Cruz being one of them. We were bartending.
We were all so we were at SMU, and at SMU it's a dry campus, so you don't have like the big fraternity parties on campus like you do like at Texas Tech or University of Austin. So everything's off campus, so you need a little bit of extra money to spend when you go out, to have fun with friends and
Right.
do whatever. So for Mark and I, our parents had moved back and we were here, and we were grateful enough that they put us at SMU when we got in. I'm like, well, we need some extra money when we go out, right? So that's when we started waiting tables and then bartending and getting in the service industry when we were
Snuffers.
18.
Yes.
I was just gonna ask where.
That was Snuffers.
Oh my god.
Snuffers press and
Wow.
center.
And that's where it kind of all began. And
Cheese fries, fantastic.
I was about to
Work
say cheese
experience,
fries.
Jesus
I remember
Christ.
that.
You know what wasn't fantastic was when they would schedule at the morning shift on a Saturday, and you have to go in there and like pre-mix these buckets of like snuff
Margarita
burrito.
mix.
Yeah, I didn't do
And
that.
Oh,
you're hungover, you're
Hungover.
squeezing plastic bottles of tequila, and
Ew, that sounds
hangovers
terrible.
weren't really a thing when you're younger, but doing that's for sure.
right. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So from Snuffers, where did you go then?
well, from then, like for Mark and I, we were very active in the fraternity sorority scene at SMU. So then we kind of we became social chairs of our fraternity, and at that time we'd started working on different bars on Lower Greenville, and this was 2004, 2005, 2006 era where you had like, M Street Bar and Zephyrs and all these, I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, all these places.
Urban
I
cowboy.
remember
Yeah, and so because we were
underage.
well, we were very
and
dialed
working-
in like the social college
Yeah.
scene. So a lot of these restaurant bar owners were like, well, hey, why don't you come work for us? And then, you guys bring the crowds in. And so we kind of started as like this kind of
Kind of
social
promoting.
SMU.
It's kind of promoting
yeah.
in a way, yeah.
And like parallel to this, Phil was doing similar things in Northern Arizona. So,
Really?
but he would always come and visit Dallas.
Wow.
And so he was always introduced into the scene and he was involved and friends with the same people and stuff. So that's kind of how it all began. And it was up until our junior year of college where, we were promoting and bartending and doing all this stuff. And we're like, well, this is something that we're passionate about and that we love. Why don't we make a career out of this? So that's where
when
it all
you
began.
are talking together, like what are you thinking? A bar at this moment? Like when you're first
Yeah. What
thinking,
was, like,
do
one of
a
the
bar,
first-
restaurant? what are you thinking?
I think back then, you're
It was making $1.
Yeah, it's
then,
making
yeah.
$1. Yeah, I mean, we started from the roots of what our industry is. Whether it was bar backing and then going and getting
Right, so
opportunity
you
to
know the
bartend.
whole industry, but
Yeah,
then
of
when you
course.
guys are talking, what's the first, a restaurant, a bar, a nightclub?
Oh,
what
well,
was the
we
first
were, We
thing?
were very much nightlife back then.
Nightlife,
Yeah.
so
I- I
nightclub.
I think our biggest starting point was Zephyrs. It was a bar on Greenville Avenue, and we were all kind of unofficially promoting. They're bringing crowds out and things like that. And that's the next transition for me was we opened a bar called M Street Bar. It's next door.
That's right.
where the
All
gr-
three
I
together?
remember that.
I was a bartender there.
Yeah, yeah.
I was-
I
bartending
partnered
there.
with a guy back in the day who will remain nameless. But yeah, we opened M Street, and I was 20. I was
What?
20 years
Yeah,
old.
we started all this at
I
sort
was
of
gonna
18
say you
years
guys had
old.
to be so young.
Yeah, very young.
Because our boyish young good looks right now.
Yeah.
The years are showing.
I remember M Street.
But yeah, that was kind of like the initial
Yeah.
we got past the threshold, and that was
Yeah.
a really fun experience, learning experience, and it was kind of learning how the business actually operated, and it was fucking wild. But
Well, it's amazing too because a lot of the people that we worked with in that era, we're still friends with and working within some
Yeah.
capacity at this day and age. Some of our business partners,
Mm.
some are still customers, some
Oh,
are,
crazy.
it's so throughout all these years. That's
Yeah, I think as well. Like that was sort of 2005,
2005,
2006,
6,
yeah.
7, and then in the very beginning, and Dallas back then wasn't as saturated and as big as it is now. So the service industry back then was much tighter, much smaller,
Mhm.
less venues, everything else, and so you could go. I mean, Cruz knows this. Like you'd go any venue in town, you knew every bartender, you knew the owner, you knew the
That's
manager.
what I said.
Yeah.
Forever.
And
It's changed
and,
a lot.
and
Yeah.
sure it's changed, but the roots of it are still there. And the difference maybe now is
There's a lot more.
there's a lot more
Yeah.
excitement of other people coming to Texas to get a piece of it's a big
Mhm.
market. But yeah, it's way bigger now than it ever has been.
I
Back
think-
then it was a small community.
I think
Now-
what's cool about Dallas is how close knit that community was back then. You fast forward 10 years later, and a lot of those people that were involved and friends during that time are now into like management and ownership,
Yep.
kind of levels. And so like you've got this elevated hospitality with people that used to work in the industry. Well, they still work in the industry, but I mean, they've just increased their level of,
we call them like
Yeah.
career bartenders,
Yeah.
like, people that are lifers in the business, things like that. And it's people that really enjoy it. People actually take pride in what they do and
Pride,
enjoy
yeah.
it and
Yeah.
actually enjoy servicing people and making sure that we have a
So
good
all-
time.
all the
But
own-
also, I mean, you can make
Yeah.
killing,
I mean,
killing it. Like,
That's the bonus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
But
that's
all-
why
but
we
That's
all
the initial
stick to
draw,
it.
right? The
Yeah.
Right,
initial,
the
the initial
money.
draw is like, hey, you're 18, 19 years old, you're rock and rolling, making a couple grand a week. Back then, that was awesome.
but then you're working 6 nights a week, so you're not really spending
yeah,
it.
Yeah,
Right, right,
yeah,
right.
and then you're not spending it. And then if you do go out, there's someone behind the bar that's gonna, throw you some shots and drinks. So yeah, it's pretty much a free ride.
So M Street, you were partnering,
Mhm.
and
So
but
was that
you
your
two are
first-
not
that was
owning
your
anything
first
yet.
one, right?
No, no,
No,
wow.
not-
So then, what's
And M
next?
Street was big
So-
time. Let me tell
was,
you, like
man.
M
that
Street
was
was good. We
big
we,
time.
we
They
ended
had a good run.
It did. We ended up selling it, and immediately we wanted to jump into something else, and had some good people, good mentors around us that were like, "Look, get to know a little bit more about the business." I was only 20 years old, so ended up going over to Wish, which was kind of like the mecca for everybody.
That's where
in the
I
service
met.
industry.
That's where I met you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's where I worked the door, worked the floor, worked every position I could there. And
Great place,
That
man.
was kind of one of the places where every single person in this business had worked at some point.
Yeah, I mean that's
like
that's where I went to bartend after.
Yeah, I mean, Sam
What's up, Sam
Semeni.
Semeni?
Yeah, Sam.
Oh yeah.
Sam Semeni is like, he is
The
like one of
Godfather.
He is, man. Like he's one of those great guys that has always known the business. He's always knows the flow of, what's happening in Dallas and the market and whatnot. And he's so personable and he's one of the guys that we all look up to, to this day.
Definitely.
And we were
Good
all
guy.
21, 22, 23 years old. So that was like nightclubs.
Remember
that's-
Drama Room?
Yeah.
No, I don't
that was
because
right before
no,
Wish.
because we're not as old as you.
Well, but so Phil,
Hey, so Cruz, that's a whole other story.
but
10 years
Phil was
before.
in Northern Arizona at that time, so
Yeah.
we would visit Drama Room.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Drama
I
Room.
was.
That's
I
where
It was
Wish
actually
I
it
missed
actually Drama Room had a good little SMU sort of.
Because
Oh.
I mean, real talk. Before Wish, it was Drama Room,
Mm.
and Eddie G and I
Eddie G,
started
yeah.
Drama Room.
Yeah,
and we made Thursday nights
Yeah.
in Dallas.
love Eddie.
Like,
Yeah.
Eddie's good.
that
people.
that
Man, and you
started
and literally
it.
you had every color in the rainbow in people's hair on that night.
literally.
Oh, if you
Hey,
Yeah,
make sure you
man.
come see Style Lab before you go in.
This night is hosted by Style
a lot of fashion shows.
Yeah,
it
and
was
Sam
legit.
Semeni was he was part of all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, man.
And Area 51.
Yeah, and
Area
I think
51.
we all ended
damn.
up working under the same roof over there, and that was like the start of the nightclub circuit for everybody. And
Yeah.
it was just
Well, for us at least.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dolce, the original Dolce was like my first Dallas nightclub because it was the and this was 2007.
was it
um,
Vendetta or
No, it was the original Dolce. Because the owners that owned Zephyrs and Urban Cavern on Lower Greenville, they had opened up the nightclub downtown in that underground subterranean
Yeah.
space,
Mhm.
and it was called Dolce, and that
That's
was
cool as well.
Remember that.
yeah.
super fun. Yeah.
But the craziest thing
Yeah.
about those days was you could smoke, right? And this was like a dungeon underground nightclub.
It was a
and
fog.
everyone's like smoking cigarettes. The first thing you do when you get off work, you go home and you just like literally like you're like Ace Ventura when he gets in the shower. It's like it's in your hair, it's in your clothes.
Everywhere.
You leave your clothes outside.
Yeah.
So okay, so let's see. Wish, and then y'all were working at Wish, and then y'all
And
were
then
together at Wish,
Chris-
right?
So
Yeah.
and
yeah,
then
and then Chris and I went to open up Dolce.
Dolce.
So that was
The
your
original.
actual
And
that was y'all's
first
first
No,
nightclub.
not our venue. No.
No, it wasn't
No,
ours,
for
no.
a long time we just worked for other people in
Oh,
the business and
okay.
just hopped
Okay.
around. It was more about gaining experience at that point. And
But y'all, did y'all have any kind of ownership, or y'all just like
Not then.
No.
no.
pretty much ran the
No.
place, right?
It
No,
was
no,
just-
we
it
were
was just learning.
bartenders or promoters.
Okay, so just-
it wasn't until a few more years and we got into management and then started working in restaurants and hotels and
Oh
it
my
was-
goodness! So you guys really did the whole
did,
entire
yeah, the whole
everything.
track.
It's
You worked hard.
We were sponges, right? We were
Yeah.
young kids learning the industry. I mean, you have to pay your respects in
Yeah.
any industry, and that's kind of what we were. Like we would,
And y'all are early mid 20s right now.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, 22, 23, 24,
Wow.
and then
It was 28 until when we first opened up our first place.
but yeah, before we started our company, yeah, I wanted to learn the corporate side of hospitality, so I went with to operate.
He
the
suited
venues
up.
at the Jewel Hotel.
Mhm.
So,
Oh.
the original
He
PM.
liked wearing suits.
Yeah.
so
Booted.
he was like,
Yeah, I
Businessman.
sold out and put a suit on, and I was
Yeah.
like, I got to learn all this stuff.
That's
So,
so smart,
yeah,
though.
yeah,
I
you know,
mean,
You
learn-
went to school while
everything
you were getting
from-
paid, and you know.
wow.
We got free
Well-
hotel rooms. That's why he was there.
Yeah, but it was important to learn, sort of the marketing, the accounting, the sort of,
This is
all the
like
ins
an
and outs of-
amazing business class for people.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
for
yeah,
real.
so, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I think what's important is just learning the basics,
Learning,
and that was
Yeah.
what we were fortunate enough to have good people kind of guide us in that
Yeah.
path, and it was, learning not to be too big to, do the little things.
Well, there's a big part of this is that during that time you can take in all the information
Mhm.
and learn, and you don't risk anything. You don't have any liability.
yeah.
It's when you get into ownership
Mm-hmm.
when you learn even more, but then there's a whole nother level of risk.
Yeah.
And you'll
Stress.
have successes and
Stress.
failures, and
Yeah.
and then those things you just can't teach people. You have
Mm-mm.
to learn failure to earn success.
Yeah, but I
Something-
think we had like subconsciously or consciously had already made the decision that hospitality was going to be our career, right? So
Right.
it's different if you commit to that like we did, or you're just kind of doing it to make a buck, right? Like we were committed to taking this path and like sacrificing when you need to, and a lot of people do. But we sort of made that decision, and
But I think we always knew we were collecting the check, but we knew that there was something bigger ahead of us.
Sure.
But I also felt that like the people within the service industry in Dallas are also with that same mentality. They're not all trying to be aspiring actors or actresses or models or this or that, and they're not just doing it as a side gig. Like when you're at a certain level, whether it be a nightclub or a high-end restaurant or a hotel, like you generally have a feel that those people are there for that reason. If that makes sense. And not that there's anything against
It's a career.
Yes, but and it's not anything against those that would use this industry as a way to make money to further themselves as well.
Because that's a crucial part of it.
And that's a large part of the people that we employ is that we embrace that.
Sure, and you have the freedom to be able to alter your schedule around whatever.
Absolutely.
Right.
You're
We just made the decision.
Yeah.
Like a few idiots.
We're like, we're gonna go after
let's
it.
go for it.
And so by all means, that's what's great about industry is that people come and go, but when people are dedicated to it, they're gonna do well at it. I think.
And we enjoy it. And we enjoyed it. It's like,
Obviously.
the obvious statement is like, only do what you love kind of thing. Right? Everyone's heard it a million times. This is God honest truth.
So now you say 2008, and this is your first.
2008, yeah. So 2008,
which was
2009, yeah. So that's when I went to work with my good friend Matthew Giese.
Oh, Matt.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, Matthew had just moved on from that, and he gave me a shout, and I went to do the Jewel Hotel with him for the original PM Lounge,
Right.
Underground, the Jewel, and then all the F&B programs with the people there, and then open up Rear Room with him. I was no ownership at this point. I was sort of learning and operating and managing.
And what were you doing, Chris?
At that time, I was working for Emil Bragdon, who is a very successful
Shout out to Emil. We
hospitality
love him.
guy. I was working with him at Cameo and Mantis.
Good spots.
Yes.
And
a lot of fun there.
I was always working 6-7 days or nights a week at various places.
There was a circuit, and they would jump every day. There was something.
I don't know how you did it, man.
I was at like on Monday. I was at Sfuzzi at 2008, and then Tuesday was Wish, Wednesday was Plush, Thursday was Cameo, Friday.
Oh my gosh!
And then Sunday was Man. There was always like something.
It was like a Saturday every night.
I remember that.
Every
Chris, I say this
night.
day to know how you did that.
That's
It
probably
was
why I've got some
mental.
few years off me and him.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So then, I don't know, what's the first one you opened?
Yeah.
So the first place that we opened was Truth and Alibi, which is still
TNA.
with us today. Yeah,
One of my favorite spots still.
and we so Shaker.
So how did that look? Like you talking with each other, and you're going, obviously this is now you have to take a risk, right? So
Well, it was
bueno.
actually we were actually approached by our friend and business partner now that they had done a barbecue sports bar restaurant concept, and one of the owners he's from LA and he's very well traveled and has all these cool ideas, and he's like, well, why don't we just turn this into a really cool bar? And he was like, Chris, what do you think about doing a cool like candy shop thing where we can make it like a speakeasy feel? Like there aren't any. And there's been like some variations of speakeasies like throughout the years in Dallas, but I think Truth and Alibi was like the first successful
Definitely.
speakeasy.
And and to touch on that, like doing the speakeasy thing, it wouldn't have worked if we just like did it in the height of the days of Uptown. Like Deep Ellum was like kind of quiet, and there's some legends that were still operating down there, and we felt like at that time like a speakeasy has to be like mysterious and sexy and just sort of like slightly dangerous. And it was like, and Deep Ellum back then, there was nothing really.
Uptown, it was the Fuzzies and the Idle Rich, that McKinney Avenue was like the popular place to go to, and Deep Ellum was like more of a live music area. It was kind of
it was at the end of its an era.
a lot of homeless.
It was kind of a time though that y'all were bringing it back.
Yeah,
it was needing some really good.
There was
venues
no
and good
street lights. Like
there's Black
And
Swan.
I remember when we
Everyone
announced
loved
it,
that.
we got
Trees,
so
Black
much
Swan.
flack from the Deep Ellum community. They're like, "Oh, these Uptown guys are coming in to do a bar," and like everyone, screw that place. And then now it's kind of institutional to Deep Ellum. We've been there for almost
It's a
10
neighborhood
years.
staple over there.
But at that time, it was frowned upon, and we just we built success off of that first one, and a lot of people that still work within our organization now came from Truth and Alibi, and from there we just
But
Had to
you know,
find-
Phil had a whole different adventure.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I got out of the nightclub business and got into Sfuzzi. It was on McKinney Avenue. It was an Italian restaurant, and that was
Everybody knows Sfuzzi.
it wasn't just Italian. It was a fucking
place was-
madhouse.
It was a bar.
It was a madhouse.
It was a bar with great
in a
pizza.
good way.
Yeah,
Man.
it was a
How many-
all-encompassing.
How many damn pizzas did you sell in that place?
A lot.
Pizzas with blueberry mojitos.
Yeah, a lot. It was a really good experience. It was my first opportunity to really get into food, and we sold a lot of it. And you know, nightclubs operate 10 to 2 every day. This was, you know, a 7-day-a-week operation to where we would actually, you know, serve, you know, brunch, lunch, dinner, everything. So it was a really good experience.
What was your position?
I was a
in that?
manager there.
Okay.
And learned a lot. It was a great stepping stone. Unfortunately, we worked for somebody that will go again nameless,
Okay.
but it was a great opportunity. It was a huge success in the Dallas market, and it's actually where I met my business partner. Or not met my business partner, but where we kind of like started working together more often. Brandon Hayes and I, after Sfuzzi closed, we opened up a hospitality group called This and That Hospitality.
Shout
we
out to
took
Brandon.
we took over the former Primo's location on McKinney Avenue and opened up So and So's,
Yes.
which was a ton of fun. It was again another madhouse, but it was still you know, one of those kind of I guess hybrids where it's still serving food, still serving brunch, but there's a huge party still.
It was
DJing.
like the Sfuzzi 2.0.
yeah.
And it was like
yeah,
at that
yeah.
time in the Dallas market,
100%.
and there have been different variations of it. And I think what really kind of started like more the casual going out element was like in 2008 when the economy crashed. You probably had 50 nightclubs that were open in Dallas time, and they were all owned by jewelers and used car salesmen and you know God what else, right? And like
It's
these
real
guys, like,
quality.
And why do I know exactly who you're talking about?
well, you know, it was just like nightclubs were owned by people that just wanted to have a cool spot in
Sure,
Dallas and make some money and a quick
Yeah.
buck, and that's what nightclubs are. But 2008, economy went to shit. Young professionals didn't have the money to go out and spend anymore.
Corporate cards are done.
Exclusivity went down, so then now they're trying to fill venues with you know all walks of life and comp here, this, that, let anybody in.
Okay.
So then landlords were kind of veering away from even giving nightclub operators the opportunity to even take leases in Dallas. So the nightclubs kind of disappeared. Sfuzzi was the first restaurant bar that was operated by nightclub people
Yeah.
that created this amazing atmosphere for casual nightlife that carried on 7 days a week, you know, day and
Yeah.
night. And then McKinney Avenue just blew up from that.
Yeah,
It was. I mean,
Definitely.
It was because of Sfuzzi McKinney Avenue had it.
No,
Yes.
Well, there's other good
Yeah.
operators down there. There was a bunch of good pubs
Well,
and things
Idle
like
Rich
that. But
was
it was
amazing,
it was a
yeah,
place where
yeah.
you could feel safe, walk down the
Centerport.
street, hop
Yeah.
around to a bunch of different
But
bars.
also, all those other places were there already, and
Yeah.
they didn't really start making as much money as they did until Fuzzi's came, and then everything just kind of spread out.
I think Uptown as a whole, like you know, you had some staples that were
at that time,
operating.
at least.
Sure.
But yeah, Sfuzzi just sort of like put like Uptown like on the map to like the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
you
It is.
know?
It was another place, kind of like a Wish, where everybody kind of.
It wasn't.
If
A
they
neigh-
hadn't
it
gotten
wasn't
their
like a
start
neighborhood.
there.
It wasn't like a neighborhood anymore. It
Mhm.
was like this is like where everyone from DFW Metroplex is
But it
coming
was-
to party.
But I'll also say this though, you know, you being there definitely created a vibe. Like everybody knew you. You had like, you know, you made it what it was. And I
Well,
think
we had
because-
a look. At first, we had a great team. It was,
well,
you know,
I mean, I'm not saying you
Brandon-
personally, but
Brandon,
you know,
James, everybody that we had. I mean, Brian McCullough was part of it back then. We had, you know, Julio, Kyle McClard, like all these other people. It was the who's who of industry, but in a restaurant format. And that was what was fun about it, is like you could get the casual crowd out, but we'd also have the who's who. We'd have the Rangers, the Mavs, the Cowboys. You know,
Created like a fun
'Cause it was
energy.
just
we'd
a
have
poppin'
anytime there was a
place.
concert that, you know, Drake would have dinner there. You know what I mean?
and
we-
like a
it was-
massive
it was
service
everything.
industry support. Yeah.
It was, and it was
and
relaxed.
it was something for
welcoming.
everyone, which then turned into so
Yeah, so and so's. I mean, and that
was like your
fun,
tagline,
though.
right? It
That's
was like,
that's
yeah,
when
yeah.
Brandon and I split off and started this and that,
Yeah.
and we did so and so's, which was
Something for
similar
everyone.
format to Sfuzzi. It was something that was our own. It was something that was fun. And when you walked in, you saw our personality within the room, and it was we
a lot of
honestly,
knickknacks
we
on the wall.
transplanted.
Yeah,
Loved
Phil
it.
loves
Loved
it.
the
and,
knickknacks.
There's a
and
lot
that's
of
what I mean.
knickknacks.
It was the personality.
Yeah.
Y'all
Yeah.
put that
You
personality
walked
in there.
into-
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
We-
you
we
walked
love
into
that.
so and so's and you knew Phil was a part.
Yes.
Of it. Like,
Yeah, and
Yes.
like we like doing that. We like going out and digging and finding good conversation pieces, but things that just make that venue unique. And that was the first venue where it was like really our personality got to shine there.
And like local influence.
Yeah,
Right,
and
yeah.
you know it was so much fun. We had a great time. Again, it was another one of those places where people would just come out and feel comfortable. You know, if you want to come out and buy $1 bajillion worth of bottles, you could. But if you just want to come out and have a good pizza and just hang out with
Or
your
wear
friends, you're more
shorts
than
and a hat
welcome.
and you're just as comfortable.
Yeah, and I think that's the approach for a lot of our venues is just being comfortable. You know,
It's
and
good times.
we want to be able to operate as many days as we can, and you know, try to get the diners or the bar goers or things like that in multiple times per week.
So, and you each have multiple, correct?
They have like 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
We have 6 currently.
Yeah, so we're operating with 10, with 3 more coming this year. So it's pretty exciting.
Wow.
How do you
So-
manage all of that?
Yeah.
Well,
Good-
it's an
good
easy,
people.
it's an easy,
Good-
easy,
Good,
It's
an easy
good
answer.
operators,
Yeah.
good people, good staff.
It's so it's not just Mark and I. Like Mark and I have other partners, you know, that are principals of SBBC. But then also we've got great partners that are equity partners in each venue. So
smart.
they're
Operating
the eyes and the ears. They're most of the time the brains behind the operation. You know, there's no way we could do it without our partners.
No,
so
the success of the venue greatly depends on having a good team and people that have the same vision as you, and making sure that everyone takes pride in servicing that guest, making sure they have a good time.
Yeah, and the great thing about that as well is, like, you know, each venue that we open, we bring on like a new operating partner that is a collaborator with us on it. And if you don't have the bandwidth to grow like that and bring people up within the group or get them excited to like have some incentive to grow, then you know, we always like grow within. But it's exciting and fun to see these people like take that next level of like ownership and like be a part of the concept and everything else. So it's
Yeah,
good fun.
the creation is a ton of fun.
I will tell
I
you
bet.
the hardest thing is to create a name.
it's a name.
I was
See?
going to ask that question because they're so clever.
it's
your
like-
names.
it's
our,
like-
our
like-
names are ridiculous.
Like it's
Their-
just
their
hard enough.
names are a
It's
little
hard
bit more
enough, like
serious.
naming cocktails on a menu.
Yeah.
I'll just go to my wife's like nail polish cabinet. Like, okay, well that's fine. Yeah, that'll work.
So
right?
what
But,
are,
like, for
can
a
you
bar-
name
Yeah, I-
everything you have right now?
So between Mark and I's organization, we have Truth and Alibi,
Okay.
Punk Society, Tipsy Alchemist. We have 2 locations for that venue in Dallas and Austin. We have Felix Culpa, Barcadia, Dahlia Bar and Bistro,
PM Lounge.
PM Lounge.
And then we co-own as junior partners
Oh, yeah.
in Musume, and then we co-own and operate Akai, which is our kind of speakeasy Japanese nightclub. And then
This was a test, you guys.
yeah, I know. And then
Can
yeah,
you name all your business?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we got an exciting new concept we're doing in a couple locations. One of them is actually out of state, so we haven't announced
What
it
is
yet.
it? Next, you can't say.
We can say the name, but yeah,
Okay.
we have to wait on the locations. Yeah, but it's called Jolie, and it's an exciting new concept that Chris and I are
How do
doing.
you spell it?
Jolie, so it means
Angelina.
pretty in French.
It's my sister's name.
I
That's
know.
in Dallas or not?
No, so one is out of state, and then one, yeah, we're trying to finalize on, but it'll be one of our first out of state locations. So
Wow.
really exciting. So we'll do an announcement for that soon. So we're excited.
Very cool. So that's 1 out of 3. What are the other 2? We can't say.
Not quite.
Okay, that's fine.
There's no pen to paper just
Got
yet.
it. Got it.
close.
But there's 2 more.
Cliffhanger. They'll have to
Yeah.
come back
Cliffhanger,
the next
yeah.
podcast to tell you
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
What about you, Phil? What about you?
So on Henderson Avenue, we have High Fives, the Whippersnapper, and Sfuzzi. And so we were actually fortunate enough to be able to wait an extended amount of time for the trademarks to die on the location that we were actually managing. And now Brandon and I actually own Sfuzzi now, which is it was a great
Yeah.
full
It's
circle.
like a
now.
full
Came
Yeah.
full circle,
Yes.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to touch on. That they started managing and running Boozy, and now they own it.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
that's
I think that's
insane.
awesome how it does come full circle.
Right. And what's great about it is it's a similar
It's a great
block to
story.
McKinney Avenue. It's back on Henderson Avenue. It's a really great crowd over there. Super safe neighborhood. The food is killer. The entertainment's really fun. We have great DJs, performers, and a really good staff over there. We're super happy to be
If you
back.
all haven't been to Henderson Avenue, it is such a great place in Dallas because it's there's always ups and downs of entertainment districts, and we have two in Deep Ellum, and it's unfortunate right now that Deep Ellum is getting such a bad stigma because there's so much that the City of Dallas and Deep Ellum Foundation are working on to get past that stigma. But Henderson Avenue is such an amazing place, and there's so many great operators on there, and we're all friends. Bar owners and managers and everyone. It's a great community. It's a really cool
we're
element of Dallas.
We've been
nightlife.
on Henderson for 8 years at High Fives. The Whippersnappers 7 years. We've been on.
How did you
Sfuzzi
like
for one.
going back to like the naming of concepts? How the hell Whippersnapper is such like a sort of like Americana, like that little
yeah.
whippersnapper.
Well, I mean,
He's
most-
such I guess you are a bit of a little.
Most of the
whippersnapper.
the bar naming comes from me and Brandon just having a couple cocktails.
Yeah, I mean that's how it works.
But and then the
so
other.
and so, this and that.
Well, I'll tell you. But
Sfuzzi, even Sfuzzi.
I know.
well, Fuzzy was originally from New York. That was from
yeah, the
Yeah.
other
Okay.
venues that we have Tiny Victories in Oak Cliff, which is a cocktail bar.
great.
Oh,
name
Oh,
as
that's
well.
we
where
have-
Jeremy worked. Right?
No,
Jeremy Elliott.
he
So Jeremy
Double
Elliott's actually
D's.
our operating
Double
partner
D's.
of Double
Yeah.
D's. now.
Yes.
Another great
Yeah.
name.
So
Like, Phil-
He was on it.
Phil's
Not a
Design
strip
District,
club.
Double D's.
It's not a
So-
strip club.
Yeah, and then in
He's
Design
quick.
District we also have Ferris Wheelers, which is a
Another
barbecue
great name.
restaurant with a
Yeah.
50-foot Ferris wheel in the back.
Mhm.
Yeah, so a lot of them, they just come from a fun night out, and we just see something that's catchy, and we grab a hold of it and try to,
Great names.
It's kind of funny, like putting like Phil's group and Chris and my brother and I's and our partners group together. Like we all have like this diverse portfolio of venues, right? We've got like high-end restaurants, cool cocktail bars, quirky little dive bars, but like all of like our group and your group is quite similar in that aspect,
Sure.
where we've got like a lot of like quirky different names, and we're kind of spread out throughout the city. And
Brandon and I, we really enjoyed like building adult playgrounds, with serious
Yeah.
bar and food programs
Yeah.
that focus on good service, and that's at the end of the day, day-to-day life is stressful enough. We want to make sure that we
Mhm.
have an escape for somebody to
And-
come out
and-
to and feel like, I can be myself. I can go out, hang out, be comfortable, and then,
Well, and especially for locals
Yeah.
to know that this is locally owned and operated, because now you're seeing big hospitality groups like Sam Fox and all these people
Yeah.
coming in, and even Harwood,
That's some serious.
they have a massive district that they're just it's for people like us. We're just small hospitality group owners, so we're trying to play on this local level against all these big guys that are coming in Dallas, and rental rates are going up. The competition for labor is going up. It's
But
very, very competitive in Dallas.
luckily,
now.
though, a lot of the developers and things like that, they know our
They
our
recognize,
company.
yeah.
So it's, at least we have our foot in the door.
least
for,
you got a
for
chance.
long-lasting time. No, but it's,
I think
Crazy.
from
Some-
what I
some-
see
some
and
people
have
don't want
heard,
big corporate companies. They
No,
want,
they don't.
They still. We don't call ourselves mom and pop. Brand and I call ourselves pop and pop. But it's it's some people want that feel of
that's a new venue next year. Pop
Pop
and
and
pop.
Pop.
yeah. So and so's is actually a moving truck going
Yeah.
down the road. It says
Yeah.
so and so's and sons, and we're like so and so's.
no way.
But no, I
Wow.
mean, at the end of the day, like there is a different feel of going to a place that's a corporate venue versus somebody that that's like this is what they do.
Million
This
percent.
is their local spot, and I think that those are the special spots for us, which I always like going to. Not to knock anything that's corporate. It's just I like going in there and feeling the personalized touch from that person that created it.
Yeah.
It seems like you guys I've heard your name forever from people, and like everything you open, it turns to gold. Like, how is that? Have you?
Well,
Yeah, what is
has
that
that
magic?
not happened? Yeah, what is that magic?
Anyone that tells you that they're 100% winners in our industry is
Liars.
lying to you. Like there are ups and downs. And we've had a couple ones that haven't worked out, but the most have, right?
Mhm.
90% have.
Sure.
But sometimes a location or a concept, or as big as or as passionate as you can be about it, sometimes and you don't know why, it just doesn't work, and you learn from that, and then you move on and you fix what you need to from it. But
Very, very painful at times, but
Yeah.
you have to be able to understand that it's a
Yeah.
risk, and you do take a leap of faith whenever you open the doors to a new venue, and you try to take those experiences and apply them to a little bit more, riskless environment. And I guess it's, I would say a lot of the venues you start knowing what you're good at,
Yeah, and I think and you weigh the risks, but yeah, it is sadly a part of like a high risk business. You know, it's not always going to work. I mean, some like staples of corporate hospitality America will open a venue and they just don't know why it doesn't work there, right? Well,
I think it's amazing though that you've had stuff last so long because I
yeah,
feel like you've seen them.
That's a trick.
You know, they're there and then they're gone, and then or they're the same and they just change the name, or you know what I mean. It's just cool that you've had them for so long.
I love Felix Culpa. Like anytime someone comes in from out of town, like I always send them there.
Yeah, Felix is a great concept.
That was definitely an evolution as well.
It was, yeah.
Because when we first opened Felix, it was with the chef that we had. It was, well, are we pushing 3-course dinner? Are we going more supper? You know, lounge environment. So, what actually helped us with Felix more than anything was we were able to identify the concept of what we originally envisioned when COVID happened.
Yeah.
Because we opened Felix at the end of 2018, and we went for a full year of kind of evolution. And then when COVID happened, and all the bars were shut down, and
I was going to ask you guys how that.
Yeah. So and we, you know, we're a bar, restaurant, nightclub people.
I say it's like a party restaurant.
Yeah.
I love
we
that.
kind of associated it like a dining lounge.
During COVID, it felt like you were in.
Well, we had the food element.
The
so
1920s was the only place you could go drink.
But we were also
like
like kind of like a party. So
but that's what we were always trying to envision for the place when we originated it. You know, we weren't trying to be some uppity fine dining restaurant by any means. You know, we wanted to be this cool, sexy party lounge place that was in a great location of Dallas, that was very accessible. And COVID actually helped us identify that. You know, so there were some negatives with COVID, but there are a lot of positives for, you know, there's a lot of people that I know in the industry that may have not operated the right way and couldn't, you know, take advantage of certain grants and things like that, you know, but we did everything by the book. So we were fortunate enough to, you know, be able to go through that. The first 4 weeks though, it was like, holy shit, we just been doing this stuff for all these years and now we're going to lose everything. So
well, I'll never forget. It was, I remember February 26, 2020, we had just opened up Tipsy Alchemist in Austin.
Oh, no.
And it was our biggest project to date.
Oh,
And we had our grand opening on that Saturday, and it was on this like huge high. And I remember like driving back to Dallas from Austin on that Sunday.
The city of Austin goes, there's not going to be South by Southwest or something.
Yeah, I called my brother, but it was the first time I heard the words. I heard the words, these awful words, social distancing. I'm like, Chris, dude, Chris, these words, social distancing, are gonna come and really nail us. Yeah. You know, let's get ready for the pain. And sure enough, you know, a few weeks later, you know, we're on this like huge high, and then it all happened, and it was very much unknown. But we don't need to bore everyone with COVID. Everyone's had their own struggles, but I do remember that was, for us at least, for Chris and I at least, that was one moment where I'll never forget, coming from that huge high to just sort of social distancing.
and we can talk about that from our level.
I think it's interesting to hear.
Well, but I mean, like, I think we're, you know, a lot of people that were, you know, really worried were people that even worked for us, and like, how are they going to be taken care of?
Right.
And then we had to kind of communicate, well, this is happening, but we didn't know what the hell was going on.
Right.
You know, we're like,
nobody knows.
are we getting grants to take care of everybody, or, you know, what's the deal? And our industry was like the front runner of shutdown more than anything else, you know, and travel, obviously. So it was crazy,
scary.
Time.
Yeah, and you know what people have to understand is like a lot of like young people that use the service industry is a great way during like college, like we did, to make a quick buck. You know, you're living week to week on like, you know, making cash and this other rest, and then literally 1 week it's gone, it's taken away from you. And
how are you gonna do?
What, like, you know, obviously it was scary for us, but like it was scary for all the people that worked with us. So I was
calling crews to see if I could cut hair. I mean,
yeah, you can't really cut hair on Zoom.
No,
you just sneak through the back door.
So same thing, right? Like same thing. It went for everyone's industry, but
everyone.
I think specifically for us, it was those. It just like pierced my soul, like hearing the words social distancing, because like we are about bringing people together and having a good time.
Right.
And it was like, social distancing? Is that it?
No,
Who invented that?
It was a mess.
COVID did it.
It was a mess.
But anyway, that's a chapter.
But you guys got through it, so that is.
It was fortunate. A lot of venues closed during COVID.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate enough to be able to keep them rolling and take care of the staff during the process too, because it was stressful.
As best we could.
Yeah, and you know, it's our staff is our family, and it's we all went through it. It wasn't just like, oh, the business owners had to deal with it. We tried to make sure that there were ways to be able to help them get through it as well, and fortunately, we did.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a quick question. Since you guys have restaurants as well, how do you deal with the chefs since you guys don't cook yourselves? Because I know that's a big problem.
It's good. That's a very good
question. It's a
question.
great question because I'm not a chef, and whenever you're trying to develop a concept and a vision for an idea for a menu, and you don't have the language to speak to a chef in the language that they've learned all over the years, right? So there's always a respect level, right? So it's like, well, do they respect what you're saying? Because you have a vision.
They're like, fuck you.
It's like I get it. Like, you want this, this, and this,
you
and this,
make
and
that
this.
pasta then.
Exactly.
Tell me
But then do you know how to create, the labor costs for this and what it's going to create to make the dish? And then, how do you portion it and then engineer the menu to make sure that it makes sense from a financial standpoint, from a concept on a price point and a menu for a customer and this and that.
Yes.
There's so many variables that go into what goes on a menu. So for us, it's all about finding people that have common respect for who we are, and they understand we're not chefs. And I can't have a cooking contest with somebody, but I have a general idea of.
Yeah.
Well, it's also like, a lot of chefs take a lot of pride in what they do. And it's,
that's why I'm asking.
One way to describe it is there's, at the end of the day, the people who are our bosses are our consumers, right? If they don't come in, then we're not doing right by them. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that are big personality chefs in town, but if they, were to paint a portrait and it's beautiful and that was their most prized possession, they put it on the wall. But if nobody wanted to buy it, then it is what it is. That's something that you can do for yourself at home. At the end of the day, we have to be able to provide a product that people enjoy. And that's one thing that's important, to be able to make sure that message or the concept itself gets to the plate the correct way to where the guests actually receive it well.
And also it begins with the culture of the kitchen.
Yeah.
Right. So whoever's the leader in that kitchen,
Gordon Ramsay throwing plates and stuff. None of that.
It can't be a rotating door of staff that are going in and out of the restaurant, because then there's no consistency in the product. So how does a chef create that culture within the kitchen and make sure that they can transfer what the owners want for the experience?
See, I mean, there's so much like an artist in a certain sense,
So,
and
you have to like sort of like give creative freedom to your chef, but they also have to like fall in line to the guidelines of the concept, right? So like we have to make sure that we stay within these two rails. Go for it. Show us some exciting things, but it has to financially make sense.
I think we've been fortunate enough to be able to work with some really good people.
Do you find them, or do they find you, or how does that work?
I mean, if you're able to find them, great. You hunt them down, you track them down, do whatever you got to do.
It's usually a combination of both.
Okay.
And right off the bat what meshes well and what doesn't, and generally most of the time, like over time, things just change and changes have to be made, right? But
yeah.
But that there's a book that I love to death, and it's Danny Meyer's Setting the Table, and he was the founder of Union Square Cafe and Shake Shack, and from New York, and one thing that he always says is you never want to ask an employee to do 110%, right? It's about 100%, and it's 49% technical service and then 51% hospitality, right? So 100%, 110% doesn't exist. Like you're just bullshitting me, right? But you can train a robot how to, serve a bottle of wine, or how to cook a steak, or how to deliver something to the table, or, welcome a guest. Those are all technical things. But what you can't teach is the X factor of hospitality, and people get those confused. There's a difference between hospitality and service, that they're intertwined in a way, but there is a difference. So you can train robots how to do certain things, but you cannot train people to have a personality and a passion and the love for what they do.
That's true.
And that goes with everything in business. Like for Mark and I, for all of our suppliers and distributors and investors and everyone that we're involved with in business, it's about leaving the table and feeling good about a business deal. When you go to dinner, you want to feel good about having a great meal and having a great service, and when you pay for that bill, it's a good transaction when you leave, right? So that's what hospitality is about. And that transfers to all aspects of our business. with our employees as well. You know, what their wages are, you know, the hours they work. And so everyone needs to feel good about what they do. And there's just so many variables with what we do in our business that causes a lot of stress. But that's, you know, that's kind of, you know, how we envision and how we operate our company.
Well, I think maybe that whole thing that you just said is why you guys have worked so well and have so much success. I don't think everyone thinks that way.
But have you had the experience? Because I feel like it's in every business and anything you do. Have you had people that you were never suspecting stab you in the back?
Sure. Absolutely. If they say no, they're lying. It happens. It happens. You have to know it's going to happen.
Right.
Like, people, you always have to know that.
But you can't always live your life with God.
No.
You
But
know?
I was just wondering.
But hopefully you provide an atmosphere for your staff to work to where they don't want to. But are there always bad apples? Of course. You just have to do your best to be able to monitor it.
And it happens on so many different levels as
right.
well.
That's why I'm asking.
And that goes, I guess it goes for any industry.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, you're still dealing with people. You're still dealing with
Yeah.
alcohol. You're still dealing with there's a bunch of different things, and you know, people's emotions, COVID, things like that. They play a different factor. People's different emotional lives, and you know, you just at the end of the day, you got to double check.
It's just like what I was saying earlier. Chefs are like artists, but then they also think they can become business owners and they want to own their own restaurant. And
yeah, sure.
Well, I think chefs, especially young chefs that learn that aren't yet in chef ownership, they learn the business how important by looking at a P&L statement, right?
Yes.
Like, I think so many times as a chef, like they know where the bottom line is, like where the labor cost gets too high, the food costs are like very, like, you know, they're too out of line. So I think for a chef owner, they're probably like tied in very much to like our conversations about our P&Ls and our business,
but it does stem from ownership. You know, if you're not going over labor and productivity with them, you know, obviously with inflation in the last
an incentive, right? You have to incentivize.
In the last 16 months, you know, we've seen a big raise in, you know, we've increased our labor at the restaurants because you can't have great cooks on the line if they're not going to get paid for what they're expecting, and you have other rotating door and food's not good and this and that. So you have to be able to analyze, okay, well, are you able to create a dish, and what's the prep time that's needed for that, and what is the cost of that labor to produce that dish, and where's the value of this person or this person, and where does that need to be to make sure that you can have that consistency? Those are all things that ownership has to put on an employee, which would be a chef, for them to implement. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's passion plus business, right? Yeah. You can be as passionate as you want about anything, but at the end of the day, if the business isn't making money, that's why you're there.
I mean, Cruz, I'll ask you a question, right? Like we're like blabbering on about all this nonsense of like the back of house business side of things. Well, like as a consumer, when you go out, mate, does I kind of get like separated from this. Like, do customers ever acknowledge like what it takes for like what happens?
Absolutely not. And that's
that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely not. I was like, oh my gosh.
So like that's the thing, right?
I'm never gonna ask for a hookup again.
No. So here's the thing, right?
Seriously,
there's so much boring shit that we were just going on about, but this is what makes
boring.
Well, I mean, no, it's important, but I'm saying
and for the listeners, like, you know, they don't know what goes on behind like the scenes, and this is like,
so I guess my point is like,
it's very impressive though how
there's a whole lot of like, you know, and this even stems into nightlife, right? You know, back in the day, they would always say, "Oh, so what do you do?" Like, you know, you party all the time. Like,
get to party.
Man, there's a lot of shit that goes down like to get this thing to happen. So, I guess that was my point. It's like, you know, we don't.
It is a ton of fun, but there's a lot that happens.
We don't need a pity party in our industry. Our job is to make them happy.
I can put it in context a little bit, right? So, when was the last time you went to a restaurant and the valet didn't give you good service, right? And then you arrive, you're sitting there waiting for 10 minutes, you know, your date's waiting, or, you know, you're sitting in the car, like, what the hell's going on? All right, so it's already shit off the bat. You go to the host stand, you can't find them, you're like, okay, what the hell's going on? So before you even sit down, there's been two variables of situations that have already occurred that create a negative experience to where everything from that kitchen better be fucking perfect. Because if it's not,
they're over 2 right now. with 2 things
over 2.
Yeah.
So you even tasted the food.
That all puts pressure on the kitchen because like their food has to be on time, perfectly cooked. served every
Your
single.
phone's ringing.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
So like there's all those factors that go into the experience to where even a chef is like, well, if the front of house isn't perfect, we're doing our best to be perfect, but our shit isn't ever going to be good if they don't have a good experience in front of house. So everything is intertwined, and the experience just has to be perfect in every way. Otherwise, it's just a slippery
And it goes
slope.
to simple things like,
Yeah.
the lighting in that place sucked.
The
The
lighting,
music was
the
fucking
AC,
off.
the
Like there's
cleanliness
no
of the
cohesion in
restrooms,
any of this, right?
Or this
So-
customer next to me just won't shut up about the dog. It's like
Yeah, you can't
like,
control that.
there-
Really, but-
But there's always like there's lots of things that are going on that can change your experience in a restaurant. You know?
I mean, I can tell you that after COVID, like we love to go out and we don't mind spending a lot of money, but we hate being ripped off, we always
Yeah,
say.
of
And
course, 100%.
after
have to have
COVID,
value.
and after COVID, there have been a lot of places that we
Oh,
used to
yeah.
go to, and now I don't think I can go back. We'll give
Right.
them
It's
2
changed.
chances,
Yeah.
but it's so different. Like the drinks are not the same, the
Yep.
food is not the same, and they're trying. You can tell they're trying to cut corners, but I
Yeah.
feel like they're gonna eventually close because
It was a scary time for a lot of places because
Yes.
they
Labor
were
was
they were trying to play catch up because they were behind on a
Yes.
lot of things. So I'm not going to defend poor service or bad quality, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of places that were just trying to make it, and so I do feel bad for a lot of the places that couldn't. But at the end of the day, people do, if they're going to spend their hard-earned money, they want to be able to do it at a place where they can feel comfortable, be able to enjoy themselves, enjoy good food, good drinks, things like that, and that's quality is super important.
Well,
It's so
especially when
important.
expectations are so high when you've been
Right.
fucking stuck at your house for
Yeah,
6 weeks.
exactly.
Yeah,
I can't wait to go out to dinner.
Tired
It's
of
like, dude,
your
I've
own
had,
cooking.
I've had enough
And
like
it's like, do you guys know
homegrown
what the fuck
fajitas,
you're
man.
doing?
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I've been dying to go out all this
Yeah.
time. Oh, screw that place.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of scrutiny on that part, and there's a lot of service industry people that during that time like went on to do other things because they
Sure.
couldn't serve or anything. So there was quite a scramble whenever it was like you're open, you close.
Mhm.
You're open, you
Oh my
close.
Well, and listen,
like,
let's be fair. Like in Texas, like we didn't have to
We
deal with
didn't-
it
not
as
near
bad
as
as some of our
bad.
friends in
For
California.
Not
sure.
near as bad, yeah.
So, you know.
It was still hard. I mean, it was.
Oh
it was
man,
still
yeah, for
hard.
sure.
Yeah.
It was so scary. You didn't know what was going to happen, how long, right?
Why do y'all keep going back to cut? Let's get
I
out
don't
of
know.
this.
Let's get out of this, man.
I'm done with it.
Let's get it right.
It's
Well, I
behind
just-
us.
We're out of it. I was.
Yeah.
No, I know. I'm messing
I
with
was
you.
more,
It's definitely it was a speed bump for everything.
I think,
Right.
I
Yeah.
think you mean though still like because we're 2023, so
Sure,
you're talking
yeah.
about the places that have kind of still been downhill.
Yeah, like they
from
made a
Sunday.
turn and they're not
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
around. I'm gonna call one out. I don't care. It's
Mm.
Ocean Air that used to be amazing. We had to go to a birthday party a couple of weeks ago. We had gone after COVID. It was terrible. I said I'll never go back. And then we had to go for a birthday party Saturday night, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Dead, completely dead.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few tables and the service is bad. The food is bad. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say it.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
It's bad.
sadly in our industry, like when things start sliding, they slide fast.
You can
Right?
tell.
Like the customer expectations, and then
Yeah.
like the budgets get cut.
Yeah.
and it's not because they want to.
No, but
It's just because like revenue solves a lot of
Yeah.
problems, right? And
Yeah.
then if revenue starts slipping, it all becomes like a waterfall. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's sad to hear. Like
How do
Right.
you guys manage so much? Like, do you check on everything? Like, what are your day to day? I'm just curious. Like, do you go from one to the next? How do you know that everything is running?
it kind of goes back
Perfect.
to like what we said. Like we've got amazing guys and girls that work with us in the actual day-to-day operations.
Like your managers?
Yeah, and you know,
stuff?
so like Chris and I, we get to our desks at home and we Zoom call each other and we call each other in the morning and we just kind of like each day just kind of tackle a whole bunch of things we got to do to run a company, right? And then it it includes all the the meetings and things we have with our operators and then it stems down to all the details. But it's important to delegate to your team because you can't do it all, right?
You gotta
Right.
have you gotta have
You gotta
trust in the
you
people
gotta
that you're
trust the people
employing.
that are
You have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and one thing that is crucial for people like us is customer feedback.
Yeah.
You know, and there's always two sides of every story,
Mhm.
right? So if there's a bad review for whatever reason, like that, for us, we'll always take that review seriously. But there's always two sides of the story. But
Mhm.
I love the non-serious ones. Those are
yeah,
the good ones.
but,
You get,
yeah.
you get to print those out.
If you
make a
start seeing
T-shirt out of them.
reviews dropping, if certain things are becoming a trend,
Yeah.
or if you analyze the numbers and things aren't adding up to where they should be,
Mhm.
then from that point of view, adjustments need to be made, or
But
but
and
just-
there's and going back to like the routine of like our all of our people in our industry, that our daily lives, like there's so many things to cover, whether it's like new venue menu development or new concept development, or there's
marketing.
I would just
Marketing's
think
a
that
big
you guys
one.
are
Marketing
just always
is-
busy.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and
Look,
the one thing in hospitality is you're never off.
I was
Like
about to say.
Never. You
24/7.
can't
it's
be-
24/7. If you're on the couch on a Sunday trying to watch the game.
Ding ding ding.
Yeah,
ding,
there's-
ding,
there's-
ding.
your phone is your
Yeah,
Bible. Like,
yeah,
you
yeah.
just,
I don't know how they did it back in the day with like fax machines. It's like like you go home like okay, the restaurant should be fine, right? Like there's a phone maybe.
It's never
but-
Hey
fine.
Mark.
Yeah.
you got a
It's like-
telegram.
yeah.
And are you guys still going out? Like, are you guys there at night?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
You
yeah.
are.
It's
All the
important. It's
time.
important. You
All
gotta,
the time.
What do you mean all the
I'm just so
time?
weird.
I'd see y'all out. Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
all
go
the time.
out as much as I used to,
Yeah.
but